trees were shooting past on his left and on his right as he charged through the woods. Behind him he was kicking up a cloud of dust. Hello, welcome back, I'm Archie. Today I have a story for you. First of all, I'm going to explain to you all the new words in the story, and then I'll read the story for you. When I read the story, I have a couple pieces of advice. First of all, there is the option of subtitles, so you can use subtitles if you would like, or you can turn them off and just listen. And also, I recommend that you listen to the story at least 2 times, and that will help you to remember the vocabulary. You could also come back to this lesson later on if you save it and then listen to the story again just to reinforce that vocabulary. Reinforce means to listen to something again or do something again so that we can remember it. So I'll get started now with my vocabulary. So the first phrase that we'll have in this story, which is new, is shoot past. If something shoots past, it goes past really fast. So if you're watching a car race, then maybe the cars shoot past the audience. Or a bird shoots past your head. It means to move really, really fast. Then we have charge. So if someone charges, it means they're running towards an opponent. For example, in Spain, when they have bullfights, the bull will charge at the man or charge at the red cloth. Or, if we think about battles, a long time ago, you would have 2 armies, and there would be some men on horses, and there'd be some men just standing with a sword. And obviously they didn't have guns, so they had to run at each other. Except for, obviously, the archers, but everyone else had to run at each other. So the general in the army would shout, "Charge!" Okay, and at that point, everyone in the army runs towards the opponent. So if you charge, you run towards your opponent. Scorching. Scorching means very hot, and we use it when talking about the sun. The sun is scorching hot today. It's an absolutely scorching day. You can also use this word as a verb. The grass on the lawn was completely scorched, to mean it was hot and dry and maybe burnt as well. Then we have forest floor. Now I know that when we talk about inside we use the word floor, and when we talk about outside we use the word ground. But here is one exception. When we talk about the ground in the forest, we usually say the forest floor. This is the same as well about the sea floor, though we can also say the sea bed. So often you can see lots of leaves and insects on the forest floor. Then we've got a phrasal verb, make out. So our root verb, make, and a preposition, out. And together it has a whole new meaning. Actually, a few. So make out can be to kiss. 2 people are kissing continuously, they're making out. But in this story it's a different meaning. If you can make out something, it means that something is far away and you can just see it. So, for example, I can see a person over there, but I can't make out who it is. So I can see the person, but I just don't know who it is because they're just too far away. Or I can see a sign in the restaurant, but I can't make out the words. So I can see the sign, but I cannot see what the sign says. So if you can make something out, then it means that you can see it clearly enough to understand what it is. Our next phrase, which we've had in previous stories, is a stray route. We can put a stray before something to say that this thing is not in the place where it's expected to be, or it's in an unexpected place. So a stray root would be a root on the ground that you're not expecting to be there. Maybe it's in the middle of a path. Or sometimes you might notice on the glass in your window that there are some stray spots of paint. So the paint is not supposed to be on the window, but there are a few stray spots where the paint has gone on the glass. Or I might push some stray hairs out of my face, so they're the hairs hanging down which shouldn't be there, and I have to push them away. Take someone out is another phrasal verb. So take is our root verb, and then out our preposition. And together there's a whole new meaning. A couple actually. So to take someone out can mean to take someone on a date. I'm taking her out tonight. So I'm taking her on a date. Or at least I'm paying for the dinner. But in our story, we're using it in a different way. It can also mean to fight someone so that you win the fight and that person is on the floor and is not able to participate anymore. A crime organisation took out the head of another crime family. So they probably killed that person, or at least that person is not able to participate or be a competitor anymore. Or a fighter took out another fighter. So the other fighter is not able to participate in the match anymore. He's out of the game. Then we have shove. If you shove someone, that means you push them roughly. If someone shoves you, you're probably going to be pretty angry because it's very rude to shove someone. It's obviously bad to push someone, but shove means to push with a lot of force and very roughly. So it's something that's banned in a lot of sports. You're not allowed to go over to another player and shove them out of the way, even if you want to get the ball. You can't do that. In the open. If you're standing in the open, if you're outside and in the open, it means you're away from all the trees. So you're in an open space. So maybe you're standing in the middle of a field and it's open to the sky and open to the air and everything around you. So at that point you're in the open. Sprint. Sprint is another word for run. If you sprint, you run as fast as you can. Usually the shortest races in Olympics or in a competition are the sprints. For example, the 100-metre sprint. You don't jog, you run as fast as you can, you sprint that race. So that's a sprint. Now we've got the word mob. A mob. A mob is a group of usually angry people. So there was a mob outside the office and they were protesting against the government. So usually it's protesters or a group of angry people, but it doesn't have to be, but it means a large group of people all together. A mob. Grip. Now if you grip something, you hold it really tightly. So maybe when you were a kid and you went with your mum somewhere and there were lots of people around, you might grip her hand really tightly so you didn't lose her. So that's grip. Yelp. Yelp means to shout. If you yelp, then usually it's a high-pitched sound that you make. And usually when someone has hurt you, or you've hurt yourself. If I move my chair, and I put the leg of my chair on my foot, then I'll yelp. Ow! So yelp is like a shout that's really high-pitched, usually because you're surprised or you've hurt yourself. Gallop. Gallop. Gallop is a fast-paced movement. We usually talk about horses when we're thinking of galloping. Horses gallop. It's the fastest pace that a horse goes. If you're galloping, it means you're running. Stride. Stride. Now, when we walk, our legs do this. Or when we run, our legs do this. And each time our legs move forward and back, then that is one stride. So you might take a final stride to get past the finish line of a race. Now we have a phrase. It was anyone's guess. It was anyone's guess. This is a way to say that no one knew something. So anyone could have a guess. Anyone could guess. And we'd all be in the same situation because no one knows. So everyone's guess has the same value. It was anyone's guess. For example, it was anyone's guess what the name of his next book would be. No one had any idea. Then we have collapse. Collapse. Now if something is rigid and it collapses, then it falls down. Usually we're talking about people. Maybe when you're exhausted, which is very, very tired, then maybe you come home and you collapse on the sofa or collapse on the bed. And we have tumble. Tumble. When someone or something tumbles, it means it falls and usually rolls. So maybe you're walking down the stairs and you slip and you tumble down the stairs. Maybe you can think of something similar. When we're in the kitchen, there's something, an object, which has the word tumble in it. The tumble dryer. So we have a washing machine that we can wash our clothes in, and after you can use a tumble dryer, and it rotates and tumbles, so your clothes inside tumble until they're dry, a tumble dryer. Time for our story. Trees were shooting past on his left and on his right as he charged through the woods. Behind him he was kicking up a cloud of dust. It seemed the scorching sun had even managed to reach the forest floor. There was a distant noise which he couldn't quite make out, but as he got closer, he could hear people screaming and shouting with joy. He was clearly approaching the exit of the forest, which meant he was close to the end. He turned to look and could only see two other runners, though in the process a stray root nearly took him out. "Out of the way!" said a boy whilst trying to shove him. "Watch it!" he shouted back. They were now in the open and sprinting down the path. On either side there were parents gathered, shouting at the tops of their voices. There was a little girl who held her doll in the air, shaking it, as if it too was part of the screaming mob. Behind them, the other runners started to appear. This was it, the final sprint to the finish line. He moved his legs as fast as he could. The other boy, just behind him, grabbed at his t-shirt, so he gripped his hand with his fingernails and heard him yelp. A girl with legs like a giraffe started galloping by his side. The finish line approached. The strip of painted yellow grass seemed to shake with fear as he got closer. The last stride became a leap, and in that last second, it was anyone's guess who would win. He felt his toe touch the ground, and the judge shout his number in slow motion as he turned and saw the others collapse and tumble on the grass in a pile. So that's the end of our story. So I hope that you learned some new words with that story. Now remember to save this video and you can come back to it tomorrow or at the end of the week and listen again and see which words you remember. Thanks again for joining me today. Remember to subscribe if you want to continue on your English journey, and thanks very much. It was lovely to see you again. I hope you stay well and I will see you again soon. Have a nice day. Bye.